How do you think about some of the new technologies we have? I mean, we have 1080p high-def giant video screens. People want to watch on any device they happen to have in front of them. But that's got to have an impact in terms of the way we used to do things, like go to a sports event and watch sports. How do you think about what you're doing at Obscura, where you're executive chairman, in terms of the impact of some of these new media and devices?
Well, John, it's going to change everything. I mean, there's a problem as we talk about stadiums, and there's fan disengagement. What used to be a wonderful experience that people would go to, families would go to, has changed. First of all, the cost has gone up, and as a result of the cost going up, it's not as much of a family activity. Young people aren't getting into that. Also, there's many more activities. If you talk about fantasy football or fantasy sport, there's a lot of information that you want that is no longer available if you're in the stadium. And there's very limited connectivity there. So fan engagement is going down, and people's enthusiasm is going down, and what they can do at home on their television, on their mobile devices, is giving them more than they could ever get. So what's happening and what will happen is stadiums are going to have to become wired. They're going to have to become electrified. They're going to have to bring all sorts of activities in that don't exist right now. And so you can imagine, just as an example, if you're sitting in the worst seat, but it cost you a fortune at one of the football stadiums, and something happens at the opposite end of the field on the goal line, you can't see it except on the screen. And if you look up at the screen, maybe they're showing it, maybe you don't look up at the right time, maybe you don't see it. But if you download those devices, if you download that same picture that could come from NFL Films via, the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and you can choose it, suddenly you're curating your own experience, and it's going to change that. And this really relates to this concept that I've been trying to promulgate, which is, I call it the arc of power. But that is that things are always shifting, and right now the power to determine things is in the hands of the individuals. It started long ago with the manufacturers having all the powers, and they dictated what product you got, how you got it, when you got it.
So that would go almost back to Henry Ford and his
exactly. He's
assembly
saying
plant, all cars you have to be black.
Right, and that typified, and the manufacturers did it. Over time, the power shifted to the center, and that was the distribution channels, and even in automobiles. The retailers there, the people that ran the franchise who were telling them how many colors they wanted, what styles, they'd have those meetings. The retailers were dictating the hours still that the consumer would have. They were dictating sort of the selection, but the power was there. With the advent of the web, the power has shifted now to the consumer, and the consumer is wanting to and able to curate all of the expenses or all the experiences that they want themselves. If we go back to the stadiums, they want to choose that. You go to Hard Rock Cafe, they choose what they want. And so all of these businesses are now going to the individual's determination, and you have to offer an infinite variety, which is very vexing to manufacturers who like to make one of something in billions. It is interesting because it's going to lead the shift that you're now seeing to more close-at-home manufacturing of many products, because the advantages of China of low cost works when the manufacturer is in control of everything. But when you want infinite variety delivered just in time and a quick response and a very nimble service or a very nimble product base, that's going to happen close to home. So it's a very good thing for the Western countries who've lost out on manufacturing, because it's bringing more manufacturing into the U.S. You see it in Europe there, you see it in Canada.